the Arctic Circle. This is the setting for the largest land mammal migration on the planet. Over 100,000 caribou will soon pour over these mountains in a race against time to reach the safety of their coastal calving grounds. And a unique team of filmmakers and scientists will be embedded with them.
Where's the radio?
Utilizing the latest tracking technology to capture this dramatic odyssey.
You never quite know how it's going to play out.
There are thousands of them. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
From the wilds of Alaska to the shores of the Canadian Arctic, the journey will take them through some of the most inhospitable yet breathtaking wilderness on the planet. As they run a gauntlet through steep mountains and ice-choked rapids.
That rapid's really picking up. They're just disappearing under the water.
With starving predators lying in wait at every turn.
No running. Running can actually trigger an attack.
Live GPS updates will allow the team to follow individual caribou as they run the most treacherous section of their entire migration. And the information gained will give science new insights into the life and death decisions that shape the world's longest land migration.
What do we do now?
Okay, let's back off a little bit.
Join these incredible animals as they undertake one of the greatest races on Earth.
This huge expanse is the Avavik National Park in the far north of Canada's Yukon Territory. It's a wilderness so remote that fewer people visit here than summit Everest every year. Sheep Creek, an abandoned gold mine turned research station, will be the scientists' base while they're here. The nearest town is 150 miles away, so they must bring everything they need with them. This team of specialist biologists and camera crews will join local experts to study the caribou migration as it unfolds.
Are the actual campsites along the river that I put on there, just in case we were going to be hiking and camping, for the rafting trips, yeah. Take a look at that travel corridor, see what we can see.
These distant coastal plains are the goal for almost 100,000 pregnant caribou. Every spring, they'll complete the 350 miles walk from their winter pastures to give birth here, within days of each other. This is what draws them here: fresh cotton grass, the perfect nutrient-rich food for nursing mothers. But the timing is critical. The grass is at its best for just a matter of days. With the caribou on the move, the scientists are waiting at a bottleneck 200 miles from the caribou start point. Here, as they enter the treacherous valleys of the Avavik National Park, the landscape should funnel them into one vast group. The callers will supply the team at base camp with live updates on the exact movements of individuals in the herd.
With the satellite GPS, we never lose them. So
it's up to caribou biologist Mike Suter and scientist Liz Bonin to interpret this data as it comes in.
Winter range. We're starting to learn still lots of new things with this new technology, but we have a small sample, 50 satellite GPS collars on a herd that's numbering, in the ballpark of 200,000 caribou. So, that's one of the really interesting things about the satellite GPS collars is the more we have out, the more we're going to learn.
I saw some bear tracks when we were coming in. Yeah, I'm not sure it's the best night for camping.
Using the data from Liz and Mike, wildlife cameraman Max Hug Williams and biologist Peter Sinkins are tracking the animals in the field. Earlier in the year, Max joined the team collaring the caribou in their wintering grounds. Scientist Jason Kalkowski is relying on the helicopter pilot to get him as close as possible so he can use a net gun. But caribou have a top speed of nearly 50 miles an hour and are incredibly difficult to pin down. The scientists believe that this is the fastest way to do the job, stressing the animals as little as possible. By avoiding the use of tranquilizers, the caribou can rejoin the fast-moving herd as soon as the collar is on.
Watch that leg.
I just got to pin her down here while you're putting this collar on.
Yeah, and just keep your leg up behind those hocks and she can't kick back then.
Oh, it's incredible being this close to a caribou, or even through a glove. You can feel she's got such thick fur. You can see they're perfectly adapted for these crazy temperatures, which in winter drop to minus 50. And when you look at the hooves, I mean, they're bigger than my hand. It's almost like a snowshoe.
Yeah, these animals are built for this.
The collar will provide the scientific team with information for the next 4 years, giving them detailed insight into the animal's birth rate, behavior, exact movements, and survival.
But she seems really chilled out now. She's just looking for the rest of the herd.
This winter has been particularly harsh, and the thaw is later than usual. But caribou are a specialized species of deer, able to withstand temperature as low as minus 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And they can survive on vegetation that no other mammal can eat. The scientists are monitoring the porcupine herd, who take their name from a local river. They roam an area the size of Michigan, feeding, breeding, and evading predators. Key to their success is getting the timing of the spring migration just right. But they can get it wrong. There are 15 days to go before the calving season is due to start, and this area should be teeming with caribou.
It's going to be in the ballpark of 50 to 100 kilometers for each of these. I'd have to measure it out afterwards.
So they're still 50 to 100 kilometers away from the border.
Okay.
Recent data from their satellite collars is worrying. The migration is late. And the data shows that if the caribou continue at the speed they're traveling now, they simply won't make it to the coastal plains before they give birth. The last time they were late to their calving grounds, back in 2001, 20,000 newborns died, their exhausted mothers too weak to feed them. And Mike and Liz's data suggests that this year, the caribou could be late again.
At this time of year, the cows are in the worst condition of the whole year. This is their highest energetic requirements is the migration, and the heavy snow definitely does slow them down.
The Arctic isn't immune to extreme weather events, and an unseasonal late dump of snow is the reason the thaw is later than usual.
Look how deep it is.
Yeah, it's deep, eh?
It's really crusty on the top as well. No wonder the caribou are not coming this way yet.
This delay and the conditions could be a serious threat to the prospects for the porcupine herd. And exhaustion and starvation aren't the only killers they face.
We've got a grizzly bear, and it's quite a big male. And he's following the river towards us now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's over 600 pounds, that guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he'll have actually smelt us yet because we're downwind, but he's clearly just come out of hibernation and he's probably pretty hungry.
The grizzlies here have just woken from 6 months of hibernation, and they're starving. They badly need protein. When the caribou passes through, they must make the most of this brief opportunity to supplement their main diet of roots and berries. Right now, during the spring migration, These mountains are home to one of the highest concentrations of grizzlies in the world.
Yeah, he's definitely spotted us. He's now eyeballing me straight down the lens.
Bears aren't the only predators the caribou need to avoid. Wolves are formidable hunters, even though this Arctic environment can only support small packs, so they often have to hunt alone. It's a harsh existence. Most wolves die before they're 4 years old, and nearly 80% of pups don't make it through their first year. Even if they have to hunt on their own, the caribou migration presents the wolves here with a priceless opportunity. They miss it at their peril. With just 13 days to get to the coastal plains, the porcupine herds still have 180 miles to go. But they're finally drawing close to the spot where Max and Pete's field team have been waiting.
Max, it's Liz. Do you copy?
Hey, Liz.
Max, how are you doing?
Got some really good news for you. There are basically 3 lines of caribou on a trajectory to your camp.
Mac, come on, we got our first group.
We finally got the caribou.
Whereabouts?
On the edge of the mountains.
They're here.
Woohoo! Doo-doo.
Oh, I've got them now.
Right, yeah. Wow.
At last, after a long, hard winter, the landscape comes alive with caribou.
They're here. They're here, and they're going to be pouring down this valley, so we're in exactly the right spot.
All right.
It really is so thrilling to watch them. There are lines of caribou descending hillsides, crossing the waterways.
One of the team, Lee John, is a native Inuvialuit who was born on the edge of the calving grounds. He's been guiding the team through this wilderness, and he suspected that the caribou were about to arrive.
You see the ravens flying by, I would say, "Tudugaluk, tudugaluk, nangamatutuit," meaning, "Raven, raven, where are the caribou?" And then when they flew over and we started scanning the area, we spotted them and
With the pregnant females of the porcupine herd finally together, the field team now will follow them on the most dangerous part of their journey to the calving grounds. They're late, but with the thaw underway, they have a chance to make up for lost time. But it's going to be tough.
The first one's just coming up now.
The caribou are so determined to push on that they completely ignore the team as they stream past.
It's amazing, we just caught the first front runners. They're making a beeline down the valley and everyone is following that leader.
But it's not the camera that they need to be worried about.
Something's just spooked them. It may be a bear that spooked them, and now they've come together in a tight herd and are just looking around.
It's clear that they're reacting to something.
The caribou are sat on the ice over there and they're bolting this way. There's a wolf in the distance moving over the ice and it's coming towards the herd. That's ridiculous. It's like a stampede. Can't see the wolf at the moment. Where's the radio? Hey guys, did you see the wolf?
From the air, the wolf is easy to spot. Caribou are a big prize for a pack with pups to feed, but weighing up to twice that of an adult wolf, they are dangerous. This lone wolf has no choice. It desperately needs the meat. Having panicked the herd, the wolf looks out for a weaker or slower individual to attack. As the herd splinters and reforms, some of the caribou lose sight of their attacker, and that gives the wolf the advantage. The wolf needs to grab the caribou by the throat, but one well-aimed kick could end the battle. This time, the wolf has won. This hunt shows just how finely balanced the game of survival is up here. But a fresh kill won't be kept secret for long.
They've just been spooked by something over there.
Just 6 minutes after the wolf made its kill, grizzly bears are already homing in. The wolf, for all its efforts, cannot settle in for its hard-earned feast. Bears are not as fast as caribou, so they need to use the element of surprise or scavenge kills from other predators if they're to eat caribou. But they are much faster than humans.
This guy's spotted us and he's coming straight for us now, which is a little bit unnerving, to be quite honest. What do we do now?
Okay, let's back off a little bit.
He's off.
Yeah, he was just curious there. We were standing still, and then as soon as we started moving, that's when he backed off. He's not expecting a camera crew, and so it's very likely he was just coming to check us out, was at a caribou, and then backed right off, so that's good.
Within moments, another bear turns up, drawn by the dead caribou. Grizzlies can smell food from miles away. It looks like all the wolf's hard work will come to nothing. But the fight over the carcass isn't finished. The first bear is keen to stake its claim too.
This bigger grizzly is running in. He's chasing off this smaller bear.
Competition for the carcass is fierce, and the winner drags it away to ensure it can feast in peace. While the predators remain focused on the kill, the caribou press on towards their calving grounds. The bear is left to its spoils. But the rest of the herd didn't all make a clean getaway. A large group was driven to the west of the Firth River, and 20 miles ahead, their path is blocked by a sheer cliff. They'll be faced with a stark choice, whether to cross icy rapids or negotiate huge mountain peaks. That's in the future. For now, they have more urgent problems to deal with. There are more bears around now than any other time of the year. And they're even around the team's base camp.
So you can see there's a track right there.
Is this back foot?
Yeah, the hind feet are quite a bit larger than the front foot.
He's a big fella, right?
It's a reasonable sized bear, yeah.
Grizzlies mostly scavenge kills from other predators, but they have been known to bring down an adult caribou.
I have an interesting one that's on the website. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got grizzly bear there, and running pretty good, obviously. And that's a bull caribou.
Oh.
You can kind of see he's got that bigger antlers.
With the cubs. That's a female with her cubs, and she's going for it.
Yeah, this female thinks it's worth the risk of tackling an adult bull caribou. He looks like a younger bull. He's not extremely large, so I don't think he's terribly...
He's still a fair size. Oh my gosh. She is really going for it. This is extraordinary. Oh my good Lord.
Grizzly bears are just so powerful.
That was amazing. She was fearless.
So that caribou is going to provide a lot of food for her, and we'll obviously transfer that to her cubs. So that's important for the cubs' survival.
It's all too clear that given the chance, grizzlies pose a real threat to the porcupine herd. With just 12 days to calving, the caribou push on around the clock in 24-hour daylight.
Max, it's Liz. Do you copy over?
Hey Liz, morning, how you doing?
I've got a data update for you. The pace has picked up. The majority of the herd are moving north.
I was actually going to say we saw a collar last night, number 88. So it'd be really interesting if you can track that female down and see how far she's gone.
Okay, we'll take a closer look at number 88 from the data, and we'll get back to you ASAP.
The herd is moving fast, and the field team is finding it hard to keep up. They need to stop, eat, and sleep. But the caribou's specially adapted body clock allows them to keep going. The human body clock runs on a circadian rhythm, meaning our body tells us we need to sleep for a certain period every day to keep functioning properly. But a caribou's body clock is influenced by a different system, a circannual rhythm that controls their physiology across the year, not just across the day. That means all they need are short cat naps. Otherwise, they can essentially keep walking around the clock. The field team enjoy no such help from biology. The only way they can keep up is by using a helicopter to make short hops. The satellite data shows the caribou are hardly stopping at all. It also means the scientists can catch up with the movements of specific animals.
I was shocked when Max told us that it was 88. I took a look and I was blown away because she does have quite a bit of history for all of our collars. She's actually an older cow, so she's going to be 10 years old this June.
Caribou 88 has been collared since she was a calf herself, and her data has revealed something quite remarkable. Year after year, she stuck with the porcupine herd. But around 10 months ago, she left and joined a completely separate one, the Central Arctic herd.
Is it possible that she bred with a member of this different herd?
It's entirely possible, yeah. She would have been down in the mountains here where the Central Arctic herd is during the rut. You know, the one thing we can say with some certainty is it looks like she's going to calve with the porcupine caribou, not the Central Arctic.
She's back to her own herd.
She's a porcupine caribou.
Exactly why she left is a mystery. But it's good to know she's come home. The herd needs the experience of one of their older females. She had been bringing up the rear, but now she's streaked to the front and is helping lead the entire herd. And her timing is impeccable. This wilderness presents a new challenge at every turn. Whilst frozen, rivers are safe and easy to cross. But as the temperature rises, they can quickly turn to raging death torrents. Scientist Liz Bonin is checking on the status of the river close to Sheep Creek.
This is unbelievable. We were up at camp and heard the change in the noise of the river. Huge boulders of ice have broken free further upstream and are rushing past here. The river's gone up by at least a couple of meters. There is no way a caribou can get across this right now, but this is what they have to deal with.
Last year, the thaw turned the Porcupine River into a death trap. Caribou crossing the river were caught out as the ice broke, carrying them unstoppably downstream. No one knows how many died. Now, with just 10 days left to calving, the caribou pushed to the western side of the river by the wolf attack are forced to make a crucial decision.
The majority of the herd pass through the hills back there, but there's a small group that have come down to this dead end. There's a huge cliff face here, so there's no way they can pass on this side of the river. So that lead female, I don't know whether it's an inexperienced leader, but now she's got to make a massive decision. Either they've got to swim across that river or head up this really steep slope here. And we just saw a grizzly bear go up there, so it's not looking good either way. They're all going for it.
A female enters the water. The others follow.
That looks like the worst part of the river.
The The force of the meltwater has created a powerful set of rapids. The caribou plunge in regardless.
That rapid's really picking up. They're just disappearing under the water.
The power of the water is simply too much.
I think they've finally seen sense and doing a U-turn. It just goes to show the experience you need to navigate through these mountains.
With nowhere left to turn, the caribou opt for the mountain route. But that means heading directly towards a bear. The bear isn't the only predator that's looking to benefit from the caribou's change of course.
See it moving? In the trees, see him moving about halfway up? Well, he seems to be going up and to the left as if he's kind of checking out these guys. And he's gone quite a bit of ways up that slope.
Seeking to avoid the predators, the caribou now have no choice but to return to the river.
These ones might cross.
And from here, there's only one option. This time they're further upstream, but the current is still strong. The more experienced females lead the way. Suddenly, a yearling drifts away from its mother.
The yearling's getting swept away.
Soon, even the adults are struggling. The yearling is out of its depth. It's separated from the herd and heading towards the rapids. But she has one thing on her side. Caribou fur is hollow to insulate against the cold, which means she floats. It's been a close call, but there's no time to rest. The herd must keep moving if they're to reach the coastal plains before calving. It's increasingly clear that these caribou face immense challenges. Their survival hangs in the balance. Although the porcupine herd numbers are currently stable, other herds have decreased by as much as 85% in just a few years. No one knows why this happens, but the data collected by the scientific teams here will add to the bigger picture of what's happening to caribou populations across the Arctic. Hopefully, it will provide clues to explain these sudden declines. There are now just 8 days until calving, and the relentless pace of the migration continues. It's an extraordinary demonstration of strength and stamina, but the journey is taking its toll. The caribou have walked nearly 300 miles from their wintering grounds, yet they've barely eaten, and their reserves are running dangerously low. Number 88 is still with the other trailbreakers, leading the way. This group has only 70 miles to go, but they're each burning nearly 6,000 calories a day. They need to conserve as much energy as possible.
You have to remember that these caribou are running on empty now. Of course, they're pregnant too, and they're running low on all the reserve they stored up the previous summer and autumn for this extraordinary migration to the coastal plain.
What's more, the calves they carry are making their greatest demands. 80% of all fetal growth happens during this final stage. And if that wasn't enough, they must now cross a vast array of snowy plateaus. It takes 7 times more energy to break a trail through deep snow than it does to walk on bare ground. But the caribou have an ingenious solution. They walk in single file, and it's not to hide their numbers.
It really is fascinating how precisely they follow each other in a single file. It's all about conserving energy. Every calorie that you can save by not breaking your own trail, by following in the footsteps of another caribou, means you've got a bigger chance of succeeding at the other end.
There's clear evidence that caribou have been walking like this in these valleys for over 12,000 years. Using the very same paths for millennia, the ancient migration has etched its story on the landscape. Max and the ground team have been following the caribou relentlessly and have hardly slept. But there's no let-up in the pace.
These caribou have been going all night. They're so focused on their destination at this point. They're so close to getting to the North Slope that they just keep going, eh? These guys don't get to sleep. You look up there, you see the snow patch, a yearling, just looks absolutely knackered, wiped out, and he's just sort of given up. He's lying down while the rest just moved on. I mean, it's just tough love, isn't it? Even though his mum's probably in that group, I mean, she's not waiting for him. It looks like he's given up. No, he's trying to get up now, actually. There's no way he's going to catch them. They're on a mission, and he's stumbling along. The pregnant females are like a week away from giving birth at this point, right? So, you know, they've started this migration as early as January, and so they've come huge distance.
Well over 5,000 caribou die each spring migration from sheer exhaustion or predator attacks.
A bear can't catch a full-grown caribou unless they catch them by surprise, but that is what they're looking for. Stragglers on their own, that's just easy pickings for a bear. Yeah, especially when the yearling's already exhausted.
One last push, and the leading caribou finally head out of the mountains and onto the coastal plains. After over 300 miles and barely any food, they've arrived just in time for the early spring growth of highly nutritious cotton grass.
There are huge numbers that have already come down these plains. I mean, it's such a difference in landscape from those rugged hills to flat open plains. The last leg of the journey. Yeah, that's right, home stretch.
They might have reached greener pastures, but they aren't the only ones who have been coming here to feast for millennia.
We've got a big grizzly bear just startled this group of caribou. I mean, they're quicker than him, but it looks like he's tried to ambush them. And we're just trying to get in position so we can see something. There's caribou all around us. There's a group that are calm here, which hopefully suggests the bear's not just in front of us. And he is somewhere in front of us, probably about 100 metres. They are faster than any bear, but, you know, if he can... Do you see anything? There's nothing down by the river there.
Not seeing anything, but the willows are thick down there.
He's big. They're so fixated on just eating after this long journey that it's like they haven't even seen him. He's just wandering up and they're not even responding.
In such open landscape, the bear has little chance of catching the caribou. But men with camera gear, that's a different story.
All right, what's the plan here then, Pete?
Keeping calm is key to carrying on.
And he's coming close now.
If the bear keeps coming, Pete's rifle is a last resort.
He's charging.
Okay, let's not run. Running can actually trigger an attack.
This is not the best terrain for us, is it? We don't want to trip up now. That was a little bit too close for comfort. They're so quick. They can be on you before you know it if they want to be.
Yeah, they can run as fast as a racehorse, so...
Oh, you didn't tell me that before.
He's still coming.
Oh, he's still coming. The bear is coming towards us. Fire the chopper up quickly and get ready to pull us out of here. Oh, he's coming pretty quick now, guys.
No running?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a close shave, and a powerful reminder of what the caribou are continually up against. The caribou could be calving any day now, but the team don't want to risk distressing them when they're at their most sensitive. Which means that this is Max's last chance to film the herd before leaving them alone to give birth.
They seem so much more relaxed here. It's like they know they've made it. Look at them coming in now.
They're curious.
Yeah.
They will do that. They're just checking us out here.
They're just munching away on this grass.
Yeah, like the little flower on top there. As you can see, it's new growth. Very critical to the caribou at this time of the year.
So those fresh shoots have just come out.
That is the fresh shoots. This ground is covered with cotton grass.
So it's that they've come all this way for?
Right, yeah, see, it's fresh stuff.
In the 2 weeks after the snow melts, the cotton grass sprouts and flowers. This is when it's at its most nutritious. This is the narrow window that the caribou have raced here for. Not only can they now replenish their reserves, but research has shown that eating the grass at this specific time helps the mothers produce a richer milk for their newborn calves, greatly improving their chances of survival. It's earned this place a special name with the Inuvialuit.
Evavic Park, in our Inuvialuit language, means a place of birth, a nursery for the young. Now that we follow the caribou from the southern part of the park to the northern part, now we leave the caribou in peace to have their young ones.
The caribou spread out across the huge coastal plains. And as fresh cotton grass sprouts, The satellite data shows the herd drifting back into Alaska throughout the calving period. Once the brief calving season is over, the team return to find out how the herd is doing.
Here they are, here they are. It's so good to see them again.
There's been a baby boom. Almost every adult is accompanied by a calf. In the porcupine herd, over 70,000 pregnant females gave birth within 5 days of each other. That's one calf born every 8 seconds, day and night, for 5 whole days.
I wonder if I'm setting eyes on any we saw at the beginning of the migration.
The caribou have moved along the coast into the Alaskan part of their range. Eric Wald of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will guide Liz and the rest of the team through the area.
What direction and distance from our current location are they?
What did he say?
Well, they're headed our way, about 17 kilometers to the northwest of us.
We saw them from the air as far northwest as there?
Yes.
Using this information, Max is moving into position.
There's maybe up to 200,000 caribou, and they're all about to pass directly in front of us. They're so quick, guys. It's ridiculous.
With new calves alongside, the females molt into their thinner summer coats.
Satellite collar number 25 is right in front of us. I think back to when we saw these guys for the first time in Alaska and put those collars on, and they've gone so far since then. To think what that lady's been through, it's mind-blowing.
Nourished by the rich milk from the best cotton grass, the calves have doubled in size in just 10 days. But they're newborn, and they've a lot to learn.
There's a calf right in the middle of the herd calling. Clearly lost his mum. How you begin to find your mum when there's 200,000 caribou. She could well have already moved on. He's found her. You could see his relief. He suddenly must have heard his mum, and he ran forward and just straight to her side and tried to get some milk. And that's so good to see.
Despite having only just calved, the herd is on the move again, as the satellite data shows.
So May 25th through the 28th.
Okay, that's when we left them. And when was the majority of the calving then?
Calving is from June 8th.
And they move very quickly away from the calving location, don't they?
Yeah, after 2-3 days, the calves are able to keep up with their mom.
These mothers and their offspring are on the return leg of the 1,000-mile round trip. Soon the entire herd comes together and can move as one as they are joined by another 70,000 males and youngsters. This time, it's not the prospect of fresh grass or the threat of bears or wolves that has them moving so fast. It's a creature 1 million times smaller, but 1 billion times more numerous than the caribou. The scourge of the summer, mosquitoes. A single caribou can lose half a pint of blood a day to them. They have even been reported to be asphyxiated as thousands of tiny mosquitoes clog up their airways. Relentless attacks by these tiny vampires send waves of panic through the herd. There's little the caribou can do. Walking constantly into the wind gives some relief, as does herding together as closely as possible. This process does give the scientists their best chance at seeing how the herd has fared this year, to judge how their numbers are holding up. It's good news. The porcupine herd is now bigger than ever recorded. It's an incredible sight. And the GPS collars have revealed one more amazing fact. Despite spreading out over a huge area, the caribou seem to start their migratory journey simultaneously.
Here's a great example. This was back at the end of August last year, and we had caribou that were spread all across, all the way over towards Aklavik, 200 kilometers away from each other. And on the same day, it was like a switch went off. All those caribou started moving, and they all went to this exact same location. It was amazing. We're talking hundreds of thousands of caribou here, and they're all on the same day starting to move. They're all going to the exact same location, and then they're all moving together as one pretty much cohesive group at that point. How do they know? Like, you're at one end of the range, I'm at the other end of the range. How do we both know that that's the day we're going to move and we're all going to go to this one spot? Typically, this type of thing might have gone unnoticed in the past. That's one of the beautiful things about our satellite GPS collars, is that it actually allows us to see this as it occurs.
Just how the caribou achieve this remarkable feat is still unknown. But using satellite data and eyewitness reports, the scientists and filmmakers have documented the critical decisions made by the herd. When to move, how fast to travel, which routes to take, and which rivers to cross. They've discovered the importance of experienced females like number 88 in leading the herd out of danger and completing their mammoth journey largely on time. As spring turns to summer, the herd will head south, back to their inland pastures. Once they get there, they'll rest, grazing and putting on weight to help them survive the harsh Arctic winter. Then, as winter turns to spring, the caribou will start their epic migration to the calving grounds again. The great race will be on once more.
Rain. It's the driving force behind one of the longest migrations in Africa. In this extraordinary journey, thousands of zebra race south in a quest for water and greener pastures. But they're not alone. Because where there's water, there's life. And where there's life, there's danger. Nature's great race.